I came to India from America a while ago, but lately, I keep hearing on the news how nobody can afford to live in America anymore, as life has become so expensive that more and more Americans are leaving their nation for good. And since many people believe India will replace America in the upcoming years, I got curious to see if life truly is better in India than America. So in this video, I'm going to break down the most common expenses in both nations, like rent, food prices, to entertainment and traveling around, as well as my personal experience of living in both countries to answer once and for all which of the two is better to live in. And for all of you thinking that obviously America is going to win, I can tell you this is the hardest comparison in the channel's history. Watch till the end and you'll find out. So the first thing I want to point out is that India and America are very different nations when it comes to economy and the average national income. Since at the time of this video, the average income per month in America is roughly 17 times more than the average monthly wage in India. And we have to admit that the level of income inequality in India is simply unimaginable for anyone growing up in Western countries, where they say the richest 10% of Indians own 80% of the wealth in the entire India. So it will be obvious throughout the video that I'll be comparing the same thing in both countries with those data in mind to see how much cheaper you can get in either America or India, just to be fair. And the first thing we'll be delving into is the cost of rent and housing, because that's when it gets really crazy over here in India. And since we have to be fair, I picked one of the biggest cities in India to compare to California and America, as well as a small village to compare to the small town life in America where I grew up, as hotels and apartments cost so much different in India depending on where you stay, just like America. As a studio apartment with only a bath can cost well over $2,000 a month in California, or even up to $3,000, but I was surprised to find out that living in India wasn't really that cheap, as a room I found cost anywhere from $900 a month all the way to well over $2,000 a month, and the cost only went down by $400 a month after I moved 5 hours away from the big city. So for anyone in America thinking you can move to India with no saving at all and live like a king, you may be disappointed. However, after looking around, I did find a couple of hidden gems in the big city costing about $700 a month with breakfast, so I definitely see living in India being a viable option if you were to find yourself an okay paying job. But the one thing I have to point out is that hotels and apartments in India are way cleaner and comfortable than the horror stories and pictures you see on the internet. And that's why I want to give the first win to India. And if any of that sounds too good to be true, then you wouldn't believe how crazy good it gets in India. Because it gets even crazier when we compare the cost of staying in the luxury hotel, as India is known for having the cheapest 5-star hotels in the world, next to Malaysia and the Philippines. But I was surprised to find out that the money it costs to stay in the 5-star hotel in California can literally let me stay in the best 5-star hotel here for 5 days or 9 days in the 4-star hotel, proving just how overpriced America is compared to India. But I have to give America a win, since if we take the average salary into consideration, it's way harder for the locals to stay in the 5-star hotel in India, and that probably explains why I only saw tourists in the hotel. Okay, that was shocking enough, but it only gets more unbelievable because next we're comparing the cost of eating around. And what better way to do that than to compare the biggest international brands in both America and India, because for less than $1, you can get yourself something to eat at the Subway in India. But in America, it costs over $8 for a 6-inch sandwich last time I checked. KFC is another one we have to compare, since they always say the most delicious KFC is not in America, but rather in India, where I got this massive bucket of crispy chicken and 2 medium cups of Coca-Cola for only $6.40, even though the medium cup in India is probably smaller than the small cup in America. But last time I checked, you need to pay about $30 or more to get something similar in America. And the sauces they gave were so delicious, not even the original KFC in America can compare. So I'm giving India a win. But if there's one thing that America can't lose, that has to be Western food, since come on, a Western country should be good at making Western food. Or at least that's what I thought before coming to India, because my local friends wouldn't stop telling me how India makes the best pizza and pasta to the point I went there with a little bit of doubt, only to be blown away by how tasty they were. And the best part, this spaghetti and this margarita pizza cost $7.30 each, but this one I found in the cafe only cost $2.60. In California, I don't think I ever seen a pizza below $16, especially since you have to tip like 20% nowadays. And it didn't stop there because this mango bubble tea in India was only $3 and the french fries were only $1.80. But in California, bubble tea can easily cost you $8 to $10, while french fries can cost you 2 times more. Not to mention how delicious they are in India.
And this would sound crazy too, but before you come here and taste all the Western food in India for yourself, you'll never understand how many people say the best American food can only be found not in America but in India. And that's a massive win for them.
But not only that, India also makes the best Chinese and Japanese food at a reasonable price, as this massive bowl of fried rice only cost me $5.40 and the other one was only $2.40. But in California, they will most likely cost you $20, meaning if you love eating fried rice, you can literally save 8 times the money just by living in India. For Japanese ramen, the only one I found in India was this one that didn't look like a ramen and it tasted a bit different, but it was only $5.40 as compared to California, where it's common to pay over $20 for eating ramen. But what is coming to India without eating the best local food? Because this cheese butter dosa was only $2.80 and I paid $2.20 for this amazing tomato uttapam. And this masala kucha, which you have to try when you come here, was only $1.20. And finally, my favorite, this local dish called pakora, which is kind of like fried meatballs and super delicious, was only $2.80. So it's safe to say that the cost of going to restaurant in India is about 10 times cheaper as compared to America, and that's a win. But one thing I want to point out for going to restaurants is that instead of paying tips, in India you pay the goods and service tax, and it can be widely different depending on the location and what type of restaurant it is. Sometimes it's 5%, sometimes it could be 18% in fancy restaurants, so you rarely pay the price you see on the menu, and it's better to keep that in mind as a foreigner. But now let's compare the grocery price, because everywhere you go in India, you can find someone selling the exact thing you're looking for, like this glass of mango lassi and this iced coffee. I don't know why they use glasses for takeaway, it's kind of heavy to carry around, for only $1.80 each. And this local Tata coffee for only 80 cents. This drink called Thumbs Up, which I've never seen in America, but it's made by the same company that makes Coca-Cola, was only 40 cents. And the craziest of them all, this juice with mango and stuff for literally only 11 cents.
But I'm afraid what it tastes like, because it's only 11 cents, literally cheaper than water, but it's only 11 cents, so that's a win for India.
But there's one thing I have to give America a win for, and this is not out of pity by any means, is how difficult it is to find a supermarket in India and how far away they usually are compared to America. As America or Western countries in general are known for making shopping in one place extremely easy with Costco and stuff, but I always find myself walking 30 minutes to an hour at night trying to go to the nearest supermarket in India, and there's even one in the neighborhood I live in to begin with, since most people buy their snacks and drinks from the local vendor. But for foreigners, it's kinda hard to know how much to pay since there's rarely any price tag.
But there's one thing that both America and India have to improve upon, is not giving people change after buying stuff. Because in India, everyone's using online payment, and in America, everyone's using credit card, to the point that most stores and restaurants don't even have change to give you after paying, leading to a lot of awkward moments where you think they owe you a couple dollars, and they're just pretending you don't exist.
But what you don't have to pretend is how fun it is to travel in India, because now we will go over the cost of traveling around, as the cost for a train ticket for a 3-hour trip in first class was $35 and $20 for the normal seat. Buses are kinda complicated, and I pay anywhere from 10 cents to 35 cents, but still 10 times cheaper than taking the buses in San Francisco. A ticket to enter a local palace and museum was $5.90. In California, we also have museums and art galleries, but they cost $30 for a ticket or something. The science museum I went to in India cost 80 cents for grown-ups, but the most unbelievable has to be a local zoo costing only 50 cents to enter.
But what do you get for 50 cents in America? A used chewing gum? And I'm afraid that's a big win for India.
But one thing you need to be careful of when traveling in India is the crazy air pollution, since according to Wikipedia, out of the most polluted cities in the world, the majority of them are located in India. And before you get used to it, your lungs would hurt like crazy, and I really don't recommend going out when the traffic is at its worst.
If you say India smells like California during rush hours, I think most people would agree.
And safety is another concern with both America and India, as you rarely hear people praising the safety of both nations. But as a foreigner in India, I never feel like I'm in danger. The most dangerous thing I ever faced in India is crossing the road at night, because you can't really see what's going on, especially sometimes they don't even have the lights on. But I do love how lively India feels when compared to America, as I wasn't expecting to see this many dogs and cats living in the city, and it's great seeing the locals sharing their food with them. Also, if it's your first time in India, don't be surprised to see cattle roaming the street, as there are literally millions of them, and they're considered sacred, so please don't do anything that would scare them.
Here's one point for the holy cow.
And finally, let us talk about the work culture in both India and America, since both nations are known for working the longest hours in the world. But I'm glad to find that the younger generations in India are beginning to prioritize a better work-life balance and more time with their family, as well as a flexible workplace. But still, too many people value long working hours like a badge of honor of some sort. But I think with time, the work culture in India will eventually get better.
So as you can see, it's not that easy deciding a clear winner, even though America is the most developed country and India is just getting started. But if there's one thing I absolutely love about both, is that people look out for one another. Since Americans are known for always being ready to help anyone, but living here in India, I see people going out of their way to help a stranger. And people keep stopping and asking me if I'm lost when I'm out in the night, so both Americans and Indians are the nicest human beings I know of. And I think you should be proud of yourself. But now let's see what the final score is.
In the end, India wins for being a better place to live, but America is still good if you can find a good paying job. But nothing will ever be as beautiful as my favorite city in India, and that is Kolkata. And in this video, I show you the top 10 things to do around the city, and you can click on this video to find out what they are.